What's good, YouTube? Crossover MMA back in here for another video. This will be my UFC 312 recap. I went 8-3 on the card, minus the one draw. Not too bad. Timestamps will be in the description. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it. In the main event, we had Dricus Du Plessis versus Sean Strickland 2 for the middleweight title. Dricus Du Plessis defeated Sean Strickland 50-45 unanimous decision. First off, this was just a masterful performance from Dricus Du Plessis. You don't really see people 50-45 in Sean Strickland, so definitely big respect to him. In my opinion, Sean Strickland didn't earn this title shot. I get the first fight was competitive. However, getting a decision win over Paulo Costa shouldn't earn you a title shot. In my preview video, I said DDP was starting to figure out Strickland towards the end of the first fight, and basically this fight picked up right where that one left off. DDP controlled the distance, controlled the pace, while Strickland just never really could get anything going. DDP said in the interview that Strickland fights like a bully, and if you don't allow him to get going, that's pretty much how you deal with him. And he implemented that game plan to the T. DDP really showed how to get through that Philly shell defense to Strickland, and that's just by using combinations and keeping them on the back foot. DDP ended up breaking Strickland's nose in the first round, and at that point in the fight, the fight was pretty much done. DDP landed 147 significant strikes, 34% to the head, 30% to the body, and 35% to the legs. Say what you want about DDP striking, but he's now outstruck Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, and Robert Whitaker. It's getting pretty close to us having that conversation as where DDP stands in middleweight history. And he kind of talked about that in his post-fight interview. Just, he wanted to be the greatest middleweight champion ever. And he's off to a very good start. I guess the question now is what's next for DDP? He called out Alex Pereira after the fight, but in the post-fight interview, he talked about Khamzat Chimaev, and to be fair, that 100% is the fight to make. Khamzat's the #1 contender at middleweight. I know Nasruddin Imavov's coming off a big win off Israel Adesanya, and he can stake a case as well, but Dana White's made it very clear that Khamzat Chimaev is definitely getting the next title shot. Let me know if you agree with that down in the comments below. In the co-main event, we had Weili Zhang versus Tatiana Suarez for the strawweight title. Weili Zhang defeats Tatiana Suarez by 46 unanimous decision. Coming into the fight, I couldn't believe Weili was an underdog. The first round looked as if the odds makers were right. Suarez came out, got a takedown straight away, and held Weili down for the entire round. And I'm gonna be honest, in that first round, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a problem for Weili. But after that round, Weili Zhang showed why she's the #1 pound-for-pound women's fighter in the world, and just really dominated and put on a real clinic against Tatiana Suarez. I think she is the strawweight GOAT now after the win. She ties Joanna Jędrzejczyk for record title defenses. Her striking, her takedown defense, the offensive grappling, her strength, her cardio are all elite. She truly has no holes in her game and has no weaknesses. I mean, what can Weili not do? She's showing she's truly one of the best we've ever seen. In the fight, we could just see the anxiety that Weili was making Suarez feel. The takedown attempts from Suarez got more and more desperate as the fight went on, and Weili ended up defending 14 of 15 takedown attempts. It was just truly remarkable. Weili controlled the pace of the fight after the first round. The improvements she's made in her game are just very noticeable. The trips from the clinch, the control on the ground and pound, just make her as complete as you can get. This was just, like I said, a complete masterclass from Weili, and I really don't know what else you really can say about her. What's next? In my opinion, I think she's done enough at strawweight, and she's earned the opportunity to go for double champ status and challenge Valentina Shevchenko at flyweight. I know there is a #1 contender at flyweight in Mano Fior for Valentina Shevchenko, but that fight hasn't been made, so I say why not? Let's go ahead and make a super fight. But if that doesn't happen, I think the next contender at strawweight for should be Virna Jandiroba. Let me know what you think about, those matchups for Weili, and let me know what you guys think of her performance as well. In the featured fight, we had Tallison Teixeira versus Justin Tafa. Tallison Teixeira defeated Justin Tafa by first round TKO. Teixeira is just absolutely massive at heavyweight at 6'7", and just made quick work of Justin Tafa, landing a massive elbow and getting the finish literally 30 seconds into the fight. This fight was so short, we didn't really learn much about Teixeira other than he's just massive and has big time power. Let's see if he can do some things at heavyweight. I think he probably get another fight pretty quickly, seeing as though this fight was so short, and we need to see what else he has. Heavyweight's such a shallow division, and I wouldn't be upset if we gave him a top 15 matchup or a fringe top 10 matchup. Maybe Janata Dinez. I know he's coming off a loss, and I think he's in the top 15, and that'll probably be a very explosive matchup as he's another striker as well. And I just say, let's see what the big guy can do. In the next fight, we had Jimmy Crute versus Rodolfo Bellado. This fight was the controversial fight on the card. The fight ended in a majority draw. Round one was definitely a Jimmy Crute round. I ended up scoring at a 10-8 for Jimmy Crute. I thought Jimmy Crute did enough to get his hand raised, but I will say this, rounds 2 and 3 were very close and very competitive. Both guys were just standing right in front of each other and were landing, and they just were going back and forth. I think both men represented themselves well, and Crute needed to get a good fight under his belt after the little 4-fight stretch he's been on, and I think he did a good job. But I get it on the same time. Nobody likes draws in fights. And I definitely think Crute did enough to get his hand raised. I'll throw up some stats, let you guys see the stats and see the judges' scorecards. And you let me know what you guys think. In the next fight, we had Jake Matthews versus Francisco Prado. Jake Matthews wins this fight 30-27, unanimous decision across the board. And Jake Matthews just really showed his experience. He looked like the cleaner, crisper striker, using more straight punches than the looping punches. Prado was more so using the looping punches, and as we know, straight punches beat looping punches. Jake Matthews also used nice footwork, nice head movement, and you really just could tell that this was frustrating Prado, and Prado just couldn't really get a hold of Matthews in the fight. And I like the growth of Jake Matthews, and he's fighting with more and more confidence each and every time he gets in there. You can tell he's definitely getting better and improving. He mixes up his attacks and is very defensively responsible as well. On the flip side, Prado's young and has talent, and I think he's going to learn from this fight and definitely get better. And I think brighter days are ahead of him. So I hope he doesn't hang his head, because I think he can do some great things in this sport as well. But the issue I think Prado was having in this fight is he was just using one shot at a time and not using combinations. And I think if he was to use some more combinations, he probably would have landed some more shots. But big respect to both guys. They fought well, but Jake Matthews just did enough to get his hands raised. And Jake Matthews, he's one of these new era guys at 170. The division's definitely turning over a new leaf, and we got some young guys coming up. And I think he's in a position where he's kind of one of the dark horses in the division. I'm not really sure who his next matchup should be, but I think Jake Matthews is definitely going to be a tough out and be a tough fight for whomever he gets matched up against. Before we get into the prelim highlights, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. It really helps your boy out. In the next fight, we had Jack Jenkins versus Gabriel Santos. So for me, going into the third round of this fight, I had it 1 round apiece. So round 3 was going to be the deciding round. And Santos was going into round 3 with some momentum, as he had just won round 2. And literally the beginning of the round, Santos lands this beautiful front kick right to the face of Jack Jenkins and just rocked him badly. And at this point, Jenkins is backing up, trying to survive and trying to give a little bit of a poker face as if he's okay, but it was very obvious he was rocked and he was hurt. And, now he's just on his bike trying to recover. Santos knew instantly what time it was. He ended up getting Jenkins down and getting right on his back. Jenkins managed to get back to his feet, but at this point, Santos is still on his back. And then Santos slips his arm underneath the chin, getting a rear naked choke. And Jack Jenkins taps. And it's a great performance by Gabriel Santos. In the next fight, we had Quinlan Salkill versus Anshul Jubilee. What can you say about this fight? Literally 15, 20 seconds into the fight, Quinlan Salkill lands a massive right straight, big KO win. I mean, you could say it was a little bit of an early stoppage, but this fight was over before you could even get comfortable on the couch. Quinlan, just like I said, landed a massive right hand, knocked out Jubilee, and Jubilee basically woke up when he hit the ground. And I will say this, he did dive for a single leg, and he was trying to get that, but the ref was just right on top of it. And watching the replay, it was a tad bit early, but that's just unfortunately how the cookie crumbles when you get dropped so badly like that. And it's a great win by Quinlan Salkill. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. Be on the lookout for my UFC Vegas 102 preview. Should be dropping tomorrow. As always, questions, comments, feedback is always welcome and always appreciated. And as always, until next time.